Hello, everybody. It is Pseudo. It is not your average episode. As I have stated before in the past, we are changing Top Draw. Top Draw will be coming to you through YouTube now. YouTube. Yay, YouTube.
The tubes.
The tubes. Just like the interwebs, we've got the intertubes, and now everything for Top Draw is going to be on YouTube. Now, the reason for this change is multifold. One, Marsh lives in a separate country from me. Literally on the other side of the world in another hemisphere, and it makes our timings very difficult to get together. But what we wanted to make certain is that we were able to continue to do so in a manner that ensured consistency, especially when I'm sick. I have not been around and the show has not gone out, and I have to start off by saying I am very sorry. Unfortunately, this past month has pretty much been the equivalent of me walking into a brick wall while on the other side, one of those gigantic sledge balls was coming in and hitting it from the other side. Yeah, I hurt just a little bit. So unfortunately, we've had to stop a couple of weeks of our shows, but that does not mean that the show is stopping. Unlike MMOBuff podcast, where episode 40 was our very last MMOBuff podcast episode. Ooh. So we have changes coming. We have swag coming as well, and we have some new stuff coming from Marsh and myself. But before we even bother with any of that, I present to you he who is ever so slightly blurry because I think the interwebs are being infected by both my illnesses and Dr. Marshmellows' illnesses. So he's a little patchy, he's a little fuzzy today, but that's okay because he is still, in my opinion, one of the greatest minds ever. Dr. Marshmellows.
Greetings, mortals. I will do what I can to fix the patchiness, but the sharks ate my intertubes. And that's how we will deal with this today.
And that's our excuse for today. Sharks eating.
For those of you, for those of you that don't get Australia news media or tune into, or explicitly choose not to tune into Murdoch media. Apparently sharks are eating interweb lines now. Who would have thunk it? But that's our excuse for today. There's a long list of them. I just sort of closed my eyes and pointed at this point. But hi, how are you?
Well, I myself, as you know, am not doing the very best, but I am loving the changes brought by the developers from Infinity Wars. There's something to be said where you have to take a week or two off, sometimes 3, because it's really hard to do things, and then you come back and it's almost like being presented with a new game. But it's still the same game, but it just looks different, and it feels richer, and it feels more vibrant, and it's still in beta, which is just amazing to me. So, yay! That's my lead into Infinity Wars.
That'll do for today, I feel. No, it's interesting to sort of be confronted by a. I wasn't expecting such a massive UI shift, to be honest. I like it. I do. I think it makes the information that you need to know a lot more crisp, a lot more cleaner. So it doesn't take you. It might not feel. The processing time for it isn't. It's not immense. Let's be honest. But just looking at it and having a lot of the information you want right in front of you all the time now, it just takes that extra layer of effort off of it. And to me, anything that reduces that sort of layer of effort towards what I'm trying to do to get enjoyment, always good in my books.
Well, absolutely. And this is one of the things. Next week's episode, we're going to start looking at the UI and the design. And it is almost as if everything that I was going to make suggestions on, they knew in advance and fixed a massive amount of them, and it just kind of blew me away. But it sounds like they're paying attention, and it definitely sounds like they're eager. And I will let you know, we are working really hard to actually get one of the devs on the very last show that we do about Infinity Wars. For now, I say for now because we will always revisit the card games that we have looked at and see how changes have gone and see how things have progressed, etc. But in this particular case, the team at Infinity Wars TCG have been kind enough to go, so I hear you want a dev? And we're like, yeah. And now we just have to find the right scheduling. Because again, Australia.
And for those of you who are unaware, Australia is so big that even just for our country, there are multiple time zones.
Yeah. So
So
don't
no,
think it's
I'm
the
not in the
size
same
of
time
Europe.
zone as the people. No, I am not in the same time zone as the people who made this game, even though we are both Australians. Yeah, that's some of you that may be quite somewhat head spinny.
Just like the water traveling in the wrong direction is pretty head spinny in its own right as well.
That is a lie.
It is not.
A lie propagated by The Simpsons.
It is not.
It is.
Now I see. Now I'm all like, you need to go record a toilet flushing so we can see the way it spins down the drain. But we're not. We're definitely not going to do that.
No.
Not on a show here at Top Draw. But yes. So today's episode is all about constructed and draft. As a reminder for everybody, the difference between the two. In constructed, you take the cards that you have been collecting and you build your own deck. In draft, you're given choices, and many times you're given choices for cards you don't even have. And you're then pitted up against or want, and then you're pitted up against others who have made similar decisions in the same methodology, and you got to just do your best. And both Marsh and I as a casual player, Marsh as one of those, I really know what the hell I'm doing because I can do math kinds of individuals, he and I both agree that if you really want to start to understand how to play a card game, you need to play draft.
It's. I'm sorry, you cannot fight against my unassailable logic. I said so, so now go do it. Look, draft is the best way to do it. I'm sorry, but it is. You learn card interactions, you just learn shit that you never would have thought of if you hadn't have done it. It's a completely different play experience. It's about using the knowledge that you've gained so far in different experiences and therefore making your knowledge richer.
Absolutely.
So yes, and because draft is never the same, you never play the same two games ever. It's the same thing. The QI did a thing not that long ago. Actually, it was probably ages ago. It's just we get really old TV, where you shuffle a deck of cards, and no matter what way you shuffled it, as long as you didn't do a trick shuffle, that shuffle has never happened before in the span of human history.
Correct.
Those cards have never been in that order. And the same thing can be said for TCGs. It doesn't matter what you draft, because of the random nature of the limited format, no two decks are ever exactly the same. Actually, I can't say that, because probability does dictate that there will be decks exactly the same, but there will never be two matches exactly the same. Alright, so I lied. Probability dictates that chances are there will never be two matches that are exactly the same.
Well, that's a big part of how probability works. And for those of you who actually want to get into things like P equals Q and R and things like that, that's for another show. And it sure as hell ain't Top Draw.
It's too late.
No. Maybe someday you and I could actually do a little just kind of minor intro into certain things like probability and stuff. Because in the end, TCGs are about probability. It's like, how many cards do you put in of, say, your unending drones? Granted, certain games will have a limit as to how many you can actually add of each card type. Like, for example, in Infinity Wars, there's unique ones where you can have a couple of them in your deck, but you can only play one at a time on the board. And, you know, it's a matter of how, it's also the mana curves that we talked about a long time ago. You know, ensuring the probability that in your first hand you'll have the ability to drop something turn 1, and then something good turn 2, and then something good turn 3. And the reason why, in my opinion, that is so important in Infinity Wars is because you don't mulligan in Infinity Wars.
No,
I've yet to play a game where there's a mulligan. And in the end, it is so important for you to make those choices of certain resource cost cards to have the probability for them to show up. Doesn't mean they will. I have actually played a deck, and I think it was actually in Hearthstone, where it was everything was below 3 mana, except for one card, and I still got no 1 mana cards at all. None. And it was just one of those screw you probability. But there is math behind this, and those people who are really good at it.
Too much math.
But those who are really good at it can make a fortune off of it. This is one of the reasons I want to get my fingers onto one of the devs, because building the balance, not just across the different classes like the Cult of Voltaire and the Rising Dawn, not just building the balance between those, but also getting it right when it comes to, well, how do you maintain structural stability within a TCG when you're constantly giving away free cards, when some cards are soul bound, some cards are not. I mean, how do you find that balance? I swear there has to be a math genius working at this company.
It's not even that. I think a lot of it does come down to trial and error. But you've also got to factor in there's so many other factors that people don't consider as part of the game, even though they are incredibly part of the game, especially when you talk about online TCGs. Where the economy plays a huge part in what is and what is not effective, and that's why a lot of games sort of just go with just the collectible card game instead of the trading card game, because economy is such a hard thing to manage. Look at Eve, which is basically an economy sim. It's so hard to manage that along with balance as well. Like, card balance is only a very small part of. Then you have perceived balance, you have economic balance, you have, you know, all your other sort of learning stuff as well that goes into it. That's where I come in and say, you know, this would be great for balancing, but no one's going to know how to use it for like the next 3 months, and by the time that comes in, you're going to have to balance something else.
Absolutely. And honestly, this is, I think, for me at least, one of the joys of TCGs, and why, in the end, TCGs are always going to be fresh. And it's
that's it. You can't, as I said, there's no way for them not to be. They can be good, they can be bad, but they're always going to be different.
This is very true, because otherwise bad things happen. Math happens.
Because math.
Yes, because math happens. But yes, so what we're going to be doing today, like I said, is we're looking at Constructed and we're looking at Draft. Now, in Infinity Wars, there is Constructed and there is also Drafts, but it's known as Rifts. And one of the really, really cool things to me about this, and I am going to come right out and say it, I'm only level 5 currently. In fact, I'll just go ahead and show people my profile so you can see I am level 5. Obviously due to the fact that I couldn't play games for the past couple weeks. Don't judge me.
Don't trust her, she's hiding a 0.
Don't judge me, eat my shorts. I am not a level 50. Oh my gosh, if I was a level 50, I'd be like owning you. And here we were prepping pre-show and I'm all like, please don't build a flying deck. I don't have anything to counter it right now. Can we just like try a deck and let's see what happens? And we're going to actually play, and it'll show up there. Us playing a constructed game, but we're going to record it after we've done this. It's because of the fact that we've learned I can't host a show at the same time as playing a card game because I have to read. So one of the things we'll end up doing is actually playing a constructed game. But the thing that I love about this game is the fact that if you want to play this game and unlock the constructed or the draft, you literally have to go through the training, some of the academy, and even some of the campaign. Because draft doesn't unlock for you until level 4. And it's not as quick to get to as people might think. And I don't mean to keep clicking on campaign.
I do that all the time. Like, just randomly zone out the campaign. Oh, wait a second, I have to wait for that to load up before I can go back.
Yeah, exactly.
All the time. Anyway.
So if you don't want to, if you want to build something that is Martian pseudo-proof for UI, good luck.
yeah, basically. Unthinkingly click stuff because that's how I roll.
Absolutely.
So you like that feature, and I hate it. I do. As someone who actually understands card games, it's really annoying to have barriers to parts of the card game. Like, I want to be able to go to draft quickly. I want to be able to go to constructed quickly because I have zero benefit really from playing the AI. Like, I play the AI as time waster. I play the AI to check concept, and that's about it. I
Right.
played. Well, I played the campaign because it was good fun, but that I put that down to AI as time waster, as opposed to the cat being very angry with me. I mean, I'm sure you can hear that. He's angry. Um,
We have an angry
yes,
cat.
time waster.
Well,
Time
see,
waster and
that's
concept checker. What
that's
was
the
I saying?
thing. Well, that's the thing. You know, you don't like the fact that there is this barrier. Do you need to let your cat out?
I really do.
Then go let your
Otherwise,
cat
that's
out.
what he's going to do for the next half hour.
Go on, let your cat out. I like the fact that there is a lock and a barrier because, if nothing else, it forces even people who are experienced to learn the things that make a game separate from another TCG. I know a lot of people hate that in some cases, like you. But
Just a
at the
little.
same time, a game that forces you to walk through at least maybe even a partial tutorial or something before you can really start to do the PvP aspects. And I'm speaking specifically of TCGs. To me, it actually helps prevent the messages of, okay, some experienced card game player and this game is crap because of this. Well, did you do the tutorial? No, why should I bother with that? I'm experienced. Yeah, but you're answered here. Your questions are answered in this, and this particular style of what makes us separate is answered here, and this explains why you're having problems here. So, in a way, it kind of covers. It's not like they're saying, and believe me, to honest to goodness, to get to level 4 if you want to do drafted, it really does not take very long. It doesn't. If you are a skilled TCG player, it will not take you long to get through it. If you are someone like me, it'll probably take you about 5 hours, maybe 6 hours to get through it because you keep screwing up and you keep going, why did I do that? Or one of the latest ones I've been playing in the campaign, I just got crap card draw. Like, utterly crap card draw. There is a problem when the only cards you get are unending drones and nothing else. So,
That is, isn't that the point of the deck? Pretty sure that's the point of the challenge.
no, not in this
I'm
case.
I'm fairly sure you're only supposed to get unending drones on like flight packs or something.
No, that I'm much further in that part of the campaign. So I'm
Oh, yeah.
more towards the end of the actual campaign for that particular thing, and I lost 3 times until I finally got cards that actually could do something against an aggro deck.
Anyway.
It was just one of those things. But by having that barrier, I believe it at least eliminates some of the added support stress that would come from even experienced TCG players. And it also gives them a little chance to show off. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Show off to who? You can't show off to who?
Okay.
Like, you can't show off to anyone. Like, I understand what you're saying, but I feel if you're putting arbitrary barriers between me and what I want to do in my game, then that's more off-putting to me. Like, admittedly, it's not much of a barrier. As you've pointed out, it's not much of a barrier. Like, I blasted through it, I think, in like 20 minutes.
The difference between Marsh and Pseudo. Ta-da!
Yeah, like, I just crushed all the, like, I think it was like the beginner first set of 8 games or something you had to play, and then you could unlock everything. Like, I don't particularly care that much between how much it took me, but speaking as someone who has quite often jumped onto a game and gone, why do I have to get to like level 20 before I can do the thing that I want to do? It seems redundant because you're preventing me from wanting to play your game by making me play your game.
Okay, now see, that's different. We've covered a game that had too high a barrier for unlocking of certain things. In my opinion, the 2 barriers, which I think are 2 and 4, are not outlandish. I
No, they're
believe
not,
they're
but
incredibly reasonable.
no, I think they're reasonable, but I'm just saying why have them there? Like, people are going to go where, like, eventually over time people will figure out where they're suited, and I guess it all depends on where you want to frame what happens. Like, for me, I would rather, this is my own personal style of play as opposed to my style of teaching, but for me, my own personal style of learning is I want to go in, I want to make mistakes. You know, I want to learn from it because that's what I am. I'm a very, very physical learner. I have to make a mistake to be able to learn from the mistake. Therefore, the first thing I want to do as soon as I get a card game is go play some people that are obviously better than me because they have more than 20 seconds on at the game, you know? And I want to go do that. I want to do that a bunch of times until I pick up where I'm not doing well and fix that and then do better. Like, that's what I want to do.
Construct gets unlocked first.
Yeah, but why impose these needless barriers on me? Because I understand why it's good for you, but for me, it's... I sit there going, click, 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 click.
Well, see...
It's really boring.
Do you honestly believe you would have been introduced to the baby drop bear? Check the baby drop bear right there. Baby drop bear. If you had not done this.
Well, yes, because I play draft. But it's a semi-okay draft pick. Semi-okay. But it's... as I said, my problem is, and has always been, ever since we did the very first of this, even the Hearthstone stuff that we did on this, I'm not a fan of content barriers of any sort. I don't like payables, I don't like, I think there needs to be a difference between merit and effort, and I'm fine with that, but don't make it so that I have to invest all this time to just do the thing that I want to do. Otherwise, I'm not going to pick up your game. Like, I picked up this game because we're doing the review. But if I had picked up this game and looked at it, and I've got 2 hours of spare time, and I look at it and go, I've got to get to level 4 or 5 or whatever it is to get to what I want to do anyway, I'm going to go, now I'll go play Hearthstone.
Well, what about the fact that they do have a mentoring program and you get to help each other out if you invite somebody in? This is something that you and I haven't had a chance to properly test. We were planning on going through and doing it. I've already mentored somebody else, one of our MMOBuff.
In Blackout.
Yeah, one of our MMOBuff moderators, Gothic Slicer. He was interested in it, and I brought him an invite on this. But you can just play with your friends and probably not have to do any tutorials because your friends will be your tutorials. So there might be something there. And it might be you just try to do it all on your own. Trying to be that solo player.
Because I am.
I know.
Just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it.
Like, you can't...
So would you be happy then?
Based on the premise that other people are going to play it. It's like that people's friends are going to play it, especially when it's a TCG.
Well, see, let's look at it from this perspective, okay? You decide that the best thing that these guys could do when it comes to the start of the game, and we're kind of going back to barrier to entry, and we're going to stop that in just a second. We will stop this in just a second. But you would be more content if after you logged into the game for the very first time, you were given 2 options. Either do the tutorial or claim all the rewards from the tutorial and not do them.
Well, yes.
Okay,
but that's
so
because I'm incredibly lazy.
Yes.
I would rather the opportunity of either do the tutorial and get these really cool rewards, at which point I go, how long is the tutorial going to take me? I might look at the first game, and if it's going to take me forever, then I'll probably skip it. The other option I want is, like, you miss out on these rewards. You could go back and get these rewards if you do the tutorial, but you're going to miss out on these rewards, and you can go and access the complete game. I'd like the option.
Okay, but see, this is...
I didn't mind when you first make your account and first load up and everything, you get a very short tutorial, which is fine. Like, really, that short tutorial was perfectly fine. It was like 5 moves. You can't really complain. Well, I can, but I won't. But I'd like to be given the option of either go play this campaign, these 8 games, and you get some really cool rewards out of it, or go play whatever.
Okay. Well, see, we'll have to ask the developers what their thoughts are on that one, because I'd be really curious as to why they made the decision that they made. We don't know. Marsh, come back to me. You did shrink again. But I would be...
It's alright, that's it. Done. Doing the episode like this now. Screw it.
Alright, that's fine. I would be curious to know the reasoning behind that particular choice, because some would say that there is true reasoning to it. Others would say it might even be a design choice, because it could be very complicated.
I don't doubt that it's a design choice.
Everything's a design choice in the end, but I mean... Their purpose behind it might have been simply something as simple as it was easier to code that way. Instead of just simply, this is the intent and we're designing it to match the intent. There's a difference between those two concepts. And that's something for next week's episode. But we are digressing way off topic. And I want to pull us back. I want to pull us back to draft and constructed. The reason why I brought up the level barrier for draft and constructed, to me, is because as a casual player, I got really confused by this game to start. Really confused. I will tell you, since I came back, the tutorials have gotten better. And I have been able to sit here for a couple of hours now and just walk my way through the campaigns slowly, because I'm not Marsh and able to do math at the speed of a computer. But, you know, I want to understand the game, and I'm liking the story. I'm liking these rift problems, and I'm liking, like, all of this stuff that's being presented to me. It's incredibly immersive. And I am, hate to say it, yes, I'm one of those players who likes to look at the pretty pictures. So,
Of course you are.
You know, to me, that is an exceptional thing. But because of that, I like the fact that that barrier was there, because otherwise I may have just jumped in and destroyed my experience utterly. I mean, if you let me ask you, if you give people the choice, do the tutorial because you're not skilled, or I can do anything because I know it all. What is most people going to lean toward, even if it's not true?
Alright, we'll start with the two fallacies of that.
Yay, fallacies.
Actually, it's not so much a fallacy as it is a grammatical choice.
Okay, fair enough.
What are they going to choose, not what is they going to choose.
I heard. Stop judging me.
It's my language, you butchered it. Next. You're making some very broad assumptions about learning there, and I think you'll find that most people are self-reflective enough to actually select the correct option for their playstyle. There's a thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect, in which people who think that they are highly skilled actually aren't skilled at all, and those are the type of people that will ruin their experience. But in general, most people that either know that they lack the confidence will in fact pick the option that lets them get the better learning experience, or be able to engage better with the content.
Right.
So I think if you're given the option, I think the people that need it will, on average, take the option that suits them best, either the tutorial or not take the tutorial.
Okay. So we're back
to
very
Are you Googling the Dunning-Kruger effect? What worked?
I got you on your soapbox about learning. I swear it's become like this little mini game for me on our Top Drawer episodes to get you on an educational soapbox. I don't know why, but it may have something to do with the
fact. That's why I'm here.
Well, that's
Just
part of the
throwing it out
reason
there.
why
It's
you're
like
here.
the entire reason I'm here.
No, that's part of the reason. The other part of the reason that you are here is because you actually tolerate me where few others can.
That's true. We tolerate each other.
Oh, I absolutely
Coffee
adore you. I
helps.
don't need to tolerate anything. You're exceptional, Marsh. Anyway, so
Oh.
draft and constructed. They do have it in this game, so automatically these guys get bonus stars from both of us. Not to say that's going to impact or influence their score, but they will actually get more than 0 here, which is kind of important.
Yeah.
If you do not, in a
Apparently that's the
TCG,
thing.
have draft and constructed, Marsh will give you a 0. He won't even bat an eyelash. And I have seen the light myself, and I will also give you a 0. So, yeah. So they have both.
We need some sound effects there, just like studio round of applause for Pseudo. I have seen the light! I've seen the light!
Pause for the studio effects. I'll put in some fake canned laughter right here. Right. Sorry about that.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so I have taken the chance, and I've done some Rift play.
Yeah.
And I won.
Ooh.
My card picking was really, really complicated. I decided I was just going to do Cult of Volaire, and that's it.
Yeah, because it's easy mode. Yeah.
So every time I saw
you just
a
went
cult,
all...
every time I saw a cult
You went
card,
all cult.
I went cult, 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 cult. Oh, that's a flyer. Cult, 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 cult. I guess I'll take that. That's a heal. Cult, 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 cult. I just went purple cards. I was all like, I'm just going to play purple. Now, I haven't had a chance to properly play a COV deck is what they call them. But I haven't had a chance to properly play one or really play against it because I haven't gotten that far in the campaign. But honestly, it was funny to me because I got to do Rift against the AI. So it wasn't a proper Rift at all. It was brilliant.
Oh, you did a practice run.
I did a practice run. And I was just like, okay. I just wanted to know what it was like. I wanted to know how the cards were presented. And I hate to say it to you guys at Infinity Wars, as much as I love you in this game, some of that UI stuff needs to be fixed when it comes to draft. Like, for reals. Like, for realsies. And if I could add totes and maze balls for reals onto that, I will. But they're making changes.
Yeah.
So things are coming.
No, you've got to, as I said, you've got to give it to them. You know they're at least reflective from, we've got evidence of that simply in the UI change where they have taken feedback for it. But there are some fairly big, and there's lots of flaws. I'm not sure if you want to get into them now because I have a bit of a list. Would you like to get into our list now or later?
Is this for the draft?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Alright, my problem with this is that the system is really, really good. I like the fact it's, for those of you that play Hearthstone, it's that sort of mix between sealed and draft, where you get given randomized options as opposed to either an entire pack, take one, pass it on, or sealed, which is, X amount more than you're supposed to build the best deck out of these cards that you're given. So it's a mix between the two, which is great. And you get given 4 options, so it's even more options than Hearthstone. I'm always a fan of more options. But, 1, there are some UI flaws in which the UI will explode on me and won't come back until I've quit the game, reloaded. Even then, sometimes it will still be there. So that's just a UI thing. That's a.
Is that when the card overlay goes crazy?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put a screenshot up of that right here because I got a screenshot of that because I'm all like frustrating, and I got a screenshot just because I'm like, this is a bug. I can report this, and I have had to crash my game 5 times today due to that bug. So it gets a picture right there for you to see. That right there is the bug we're referring to. And I'll tell you, you know what triggered it for me?
Persistent.
Do you know what triggered it for me? Scrolling my mouse wheel while trying to go through the new decks that I've been getting as I've been going through all of the campaigns, the academy, and the training and everything. And I scroll with my mouse and it would pop up, and yeah, there's other things. But okay, so yes, we get overlay problems. So that's a bug, and hopefully they're working on it. But yes, go ahead.
Overlays, that's just UI stuff. There's there's two more UI stuffs. The stats, I want the stats to be actually useful. So you get given the bottom part of your UI, which doesn't include your cards, is sort of like your deck statistics. So mana curve, total picks, units or minions
characters
versus spells
and abilities
versus
and
all that sort of stuff. Right?
Yep.
That stuff needs to actually be useful. I want to be able to scroll over it. I want to see percentages. I want to see useful information, or it might as well not be there. So the mana curve is great, but and characters and abilities great, but I want to see more.
For example,
there doesn't necessarily need to be more, but there needs to be at least the option to be able to see more.
Well, see, this is where I think where you're saying it doesn't necessarily need to have more. I believe it does. Because to me, as I'm going through and I'm learning things, if I've built a draft deck and it's one of the decks that I'm like, I'm actually doing okay with this, I want to understand why, I can go through and I can look at each individual card, or I could do something like look at and say hover over where it says characters, and it'll give me maybe a power curve for the characters. So maybe I was more heavy loading it for the lower power curve or upper curve. I mean, I want to be able to see that kind of statistics behind it. And this is a casual player talking here. That's the kind of stuff I would like to see feedback-wise.
Well, I don't just want to see that. I want to see, especially considering the next issue that we'll go into, I want to see breakdown of the different factions that I'm using and stuff like that. So I know which faction I'm more heavy on, which one I'm not, what sort of cards I should be looking or leaning towards. And on that, the other issue with this is that while you get the deck, you got the scroll through deck that you can look at, you can sort of mouse over a card, but you can't enlarge it. So if you pick something and you need to clarify what it says, or you don't quite remember the exact wording, or all this sort of stuff, you can't, it can be in your deck thing, and you can scroll over it, but you can't make it bigger. So you have to Google search or whatever. No one's got time for that.
Marsh wants it to make it so easy he can just be lazy.
Oh, no, I'm always a fan of me being lazy. As I said, I don't get enough time to play games these days as I'd like. So the easier you make it for me to play your game, the more time I'm going to play your game. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
So that's it for UI and sort of those sorts of flaws. There's not many. In the grand scheme of things, that's not much to fix up.
No, it isn't.
But there are some fatal flaws. That's the problem that I'm having. Does
this go towards the problem you have with the commander choices at the start?
Yes, this is the next sort of two sort of statistics. These are statistic-based gripes that I have, which come down to commanders and distribution of card rarity. And I think that you need to cut a line between card occurrence that can be predictable but is still random. Hearthstone does it a very fair way, in which your first card is always a rare, or better. Your last card is always a rare or better. In the middle, you will always have at least one rare or better card. You can always predict at least 3 rare or better cards in your draft deck. So you can predict that. In this, you could have anything. Anything goes. It is the Wild West of Limited out there. And I feel as though, while that makes it more dynamic in a sense, it detracts so much from it, because you feel sometimes you get really good luck and you just crush people. Other times you feel as though no matter how well you played, no matter how well you considered all the choices, you got beaten before you even played your first game.
Okay. Now,
And that
this.
simply comes down to because you didn't get the commanders you were given were all, all horrible, which is the next point we'll get into after this. But mostly it comes down to like your dispersion of rares, commons, uncommons are sort of all over the place, and being given the choice of rare, common, uncommon in 4 picks, like that's my 4 picks. It's like, well, there needs to be a consistency. If you're going to give me a rare, it should be rare, 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 rare. Make me choose from my rares.
Okay.
Not make me choose the overpowered card versus the card that's going to make my deck more consistent versus the one that's going to make my deck more consistent but at a higher mana cost, but if I get something else later. Make my choice. I'm all for more choice, but the choice needs to be comparable, and it's not. Sometimes you just get a whole bunch of bombs, sometimes you don't open any bombs, and it's just...
Okay, now...
It makes it too unpredictable.
This is where my casual perspective might help a little. When it comes to doing constructed play, it's what you've got, you put it together, and you do what you can with it. It's based on the cards you control. In that particular area, it's basically what you're saying. You have to pick between just what cards you got and build something. Draft, to me, because of the fact that it is a unique variant of playing a TCG or a CCG or SCG, whatever you want to call it, but because it is a variant, one of the things that really, really, really needs to be there are good, stable, practical rules for how one draft is handled. 2, the kind of probability that you can expect. And 3, if you're going to have the ability for people to pick commanders, I honestly believe that everyone should have the option of at least one rare for a commander. Just,
yes.
If nothing else, just one. And if you happen to get 2 rares for your commanders, congratulations. But you can actually score in the code, if rare selected, and then if for some strange reason, somebody, for example, like me, because I would do something this stupid, didn't pick rare that first card for the commander, or that second card for the commander, force the third one to be all rares. But by having these kinds of, I almost want to call them boundaries, but by putting these particular boundaries in play, there is a stability to be gained from it that adds almost a sense of justice and righteousness and fairness to how draft is played. Now, you need to tell me and answer a question for me. Because of the fact that you have an insane amount of experience with Magic the Gathering, the card game, and this goes from the judging that you used to do to the fact that you love to play it and the fact that you probably still have all your binders, don't you?
No, I sold all my cards for an insane amount of money.
Did you?
Yeah, I really did.
Wow. But anyway, when you got a deck and it was unsealed, and when it was sealed, not unsealed, but when it is sealed, is there always a guarantee of a rare or higher?
Yeah, there's so back when I used to play, there used to be sealed decks.
Stick to things that work.
Look, the reason, so as we know, not all rares are created equal.
No.
Okay? So there are bad rares and there are good rares and whatever. But the idea is not to make someone feel as though they lost simply because they got shafted in those first 3 picks, and that's what I feel like happens a lot of the time. If my commanders are subpar, I feel like it's always an uphill battle. And I'm not saying always make them on a level playing field. I'm not saying always make them OP. I'm saying, at least make me feel as though I have a fighting chance against someone who's opened that god pack in inverted commas. Like, even Magic the Gathering in draft, okay? You know exactly what's going to be in that draft. Well, more or less, you know what's going to be in that draft. We'll take out God packs because there's a ruling about that. But You know what's going to be in the draft more or less by going, well, there's this percentage. You're always going to have this many commons. You're always going to have this many uncommons, and you're always going to have this many rares or better. Taking away the 1 in, I think it's 1 in 15 cards. No, 1 in 25 cards now. That's foil. That doesn't count towards that. But within a variant, you know what's going to be in the draft, so you can account for that. You can accommodate for it. Whereas with this, as I said, wild west of sort of card picking, and it lays the foundation for some really
loose play.
It lays the foundation for it to be such a variance that there's super highs, but also super lows. And the super highs, everyone loves getting a super high. Don't get me wrong, I love getting a super high. I love getting the deck that goes 23-3. Like, I love getting that deck. But by that same token, I hate it much more getting that deck that went 0-3 that couldn't have won against, my 5-year-old niece.
Right. Okay.
And that's much worse.
See, so draft is supposed to have a certain amount of skeletal structure to it.
Yes, and you have to have a certain amount of scaffolding to it.
You definitely do for draft, because otherwise you're making it a bit too frustrating for players. At least that's our opinion on it. One of the things I want to point out, though, about draft, and this to me is pretty exceptional, is the fact that you can have unlimited wins and then 3 losses. Unlike some games where the max you can get to is like 12. And then once you've done that, you have to re-buy into it. That's the other thing. In this draft, I haven't had to buy into it. It's just...
No, the draft, I love the draft system, to be honest.
Freely available for you to play. Yeah. You don't need to build up a certain... Once you've got your level 4, you're good to go. Go have fun. I love this concept. I absolutely love it.
Practice drafts, no one does practice drafts anymore. Like, when I was playing physical Magic the Gathering, we used to do practice drafts. We used to all pitch in, we'd buy a couple of boxes, and we would practice draft, because you need to practice draft. You just need to do it, otherwise you don't learn. This has, not only does it have practice draft, but it has what I like to call low stake draft. So it's low stake competition. So there's high stake competition and there's low stake competition. High stake competition is the stuff that people stress out over. It's just like a high stake versus low stake testing. As an American, you should be very aware of this. So people stress out over exams. They don't stress out about the spelling tests.
Like SATs and GCSEs.
Yeah.
Those are high stress, or the ACTs. And that's 2 different countries I've nailed there.
GCSEs, what's the other one? I don't know the American one. Anyway.
The American one is the SATs and the ACTs, depending upon which subject study you're mattering and doing. Anyway, go ahead.
But the idea that you can use your free-to-play points to buy into draft is really good, because generally you've got to run pretty poorly to not be able to get your points back, and even if you do, it doesn't take that long to accumulate enough points to get another Rift run, because in comparison to packs, they're very, very cheap. A very good way of extending A, your collection, and B, your playtime. And then you've got the other option of buying the cards you've used with the gold system, or whatever they are, the Infinity Points.
Yes.
The Infinity Points? I've forgotten.
It is. Lightmare points and Infinity Points.
Yeah. And with the Lightmare points, you can buy in for 50 Lightmare points or 1,000 Infinity Points. So it's fairly low stake either way, I feel. But I think when you buy in with Lightmare points, you get to keep the cards you draft as well. I don't know. I haven't bought anything with Lightmare points because I'm cheap.
I hate to say it, but can I, Infinity War people, actually purchase for a friend and ship it to them? Because I'd love to force him to have some Lightmare points. Just let me know.
No, the whole point is, it's low stake.
I force you to accept this gift now.
people, the thing that stops lots of people getting into TCGs is it's the pressure. It's, it's so intense. And when
It
you offer
is.
people,
And people can be
when you
so
offer people
vicious.
something like this, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's
Oh,
vicious.
it's
People who play
absolutely vicious.
TCGs wear ass hats.
Oh God, yes. You all, even as a casual player, I can be one. I know this for a fact, and I hate that about myself. I hate the fact that I can get snippy, sniffly, or what have you about it. But there is something to be said about a natural reaction to competition, and this has, for example, Hearthstone has almost completely removed any real worry when it comes to competition. Because in the end, you've got dailies, what's give you back your gold. You've, the only way someone can really talk to you is if you accept their friend invite or you click on somebody's portrait and go, hello, and other things like that. The interaction between you and the other individual is so far removed. The stress is like almost non-existent in playing, even when you're doing arenas and things like that. In the last game that we reviewed, there was something to be said for the fact that you didn't have the chat there and it was kind of slow and the games were so bloody quick, you really couldn't build any kind of real interaction anyway. And that actually worked for that game. In this case, I honestly think, I'm going to put my neck on the line here, they've gotten the balance almost right with this. Almost right with this. You can become really, really competitive. And you can just have it sort of not as stressful, but still have that. See, to me, I'm a kind of person who believes if you're going to get involved in a competitive game, if you don't have some kind of real stakes in play, it's not as meaningful an experience.
It's not.
And if a game, and Hearthstone, I love you, babe, but you've so far removed the stakes that it just doesn't feel like it's stakes anymore. It just feels like, and this is really weird because I've logged in recently to do the Nax Ramis stuff. I found myself getting bored in a TCG, which kind of shocked me. And I'm going to need to go back and review why, because, in all honesty, I like Hearthstone. I'm not going to lie. But something happened, and I don't know whether it's I'm being trained by Marsh with all these other TCGs that are out there, and I'm looking for something new, or maybe something's actually changed in the game itself. I don't know. So I'm going to have to go back and look at it. But in my opinion, these guys here, they seem to understand the gamer's mind. I had someone earlier today go, oh, so you guys are doing that recording for that really complicated game, Infinity Wars. And I stopped and I went, actually, the game's not nearly as complicated as it first appears at all. And with some of the subtle changes they've made to the UI, with some of the changes they've made
helps.
Have made it so much easier. And I'm going to start getting on a high horse about how much I just think they've nailed that. I don't think it's 100% correct because something still feels off. Part of it is the draft problem because there is not that structure of everyone is going to have at least a guaranteed rare in their commanders. Or, if you have, for example, your commanders happen to be COV and they happen to be the Argent Dawn or the Rising Dawn. I can't believe I forgot the name of it. But if you happen to have those in your commanders, guarantee those are the cards that pop up. Don't just throw angels out people, because there is something to be said for synergy.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, that's one of our other gripes that we didn't really get into, and we don't have time anymore. But
well, actually, we do because of the fact that your cat needed to be let out. So you do have a couple.
But no, it's also the fact that it comes down to with limited is I feel as though if I've picked we'll go with COV. If I pick 2 COV cards, I'd like the opportunity. I feel, and this is my subjective feeling, I feel as though the game goes out of its way not to give me that 3rd COV commander, which I would take just about any 3rd COV card, doesn't matter how bad it was, to stay in monocolor in draft. Almost all the time, just the synergy factors.
As people who are looking at the screen can see, 2 COV, 1 green. some Jade Spirit card.
Yeah, see, there's your problem. Like, sometimes you feel as though, I think the problem they've gotten themselves into is the commander system in itself. Like, maybe a solution would be to randomize the commanders. Don't give us a choice of commanders. Like,
Ooh.
some games don't give us a choice of, like, go with Hearthstone, because that seems to be the gold standard at the moment. Just because it's easily relatable.
Mm-hmm.
But Hearthstone gives you the choice of which of the 9 classes do you play, but that's where your choice ends.
Well, they give you 3 to pick from, randomly.
Yeah.
So, fair enough.
But you pick that, and then you're committed.
But see...
And I feel as though it could do... I'm sure they could do something similar, if not just completely randomize it.
See, I kind of look at it from this perspective, okay? When you deal with Magic the Gathering, which to me is granddaddy TCG, all right?
Yeah,
all other TCGs, whether you are talking about the Warhammer one, or you're talking about the Star Wars one, or you're talking about the Star Trek one, whatever, and Magic the Gathering is the granddaddy. But there are different types of draft play for Magic the Gathering. Why not introduce the Wild West, or the, Wild Rift runs, or the Ridley Rift runs, if you want to go with the alliteration.
Because it's extra coding, and I don't think anyone will play it.
But see, that's the thing. You don't necessarily know. In my personal opinion, if you can, now this is one of the things, and this is the reason why I'm bringing it up. These guys have shown they can do evolutionary thought, they can do testing, they can ask their community, and their community is amazing. They can go through all these things, but why not have certain different types of draft once the time occurs? This is not to say have it out in 1.0 or 1.5 or 1.7, but consider different types of draft. Consider the one where your commanders are picked for you, or on a daily basis, everybody gets exactly the same commanders, and it's just your deck what gets changed.
Like that. Yeah.
And you have to pick through your deck. So that would be one type of draft, one type of Rift run. And that could be known as, I don't know, the Mirror or something, whatever you want to do it. Do another one where you have what you've got right now, and then maybe a couple of other different variations where you have people are automatically given rares and above for the commanders. They have to pick it out. Or maybe even pick your commanders based on what class they happen to be COV, or the Aletta's machines or whatever. And I wish I could remember them off the top of my head, and of course I don't.
Genesis.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
See, you say that, but what you probably haven't been exposed to is the cross-color cards yet, because you don't do too much draft.
I haven't gotten.
Yeah, so
I haven't done it yet. But this is the thing. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm throwing out concepts because this is why I think Magic the Gathering lasted as long as it did. Is there were different types. You have two-headed giant. You have sealed. You have the pass it around, etc. I mean, there are so many different types of little variations for it. Try it. I mean, I don't want them to get rid of the commander system. I want them to take the commander system and let that be what draft and rift runs are based on, is how you manipulate and manage the commanders. And then if you want to have your Wild West, you can continue to have your Wild West. But because that is so integral to a play style, I think it would make an exceptional draft platform, is the only way for me to say it.
Look, I agree. I think in their implementation of Limited, I think they've overlooked the impact that commanders have and the value that commanders have at some points. So
maybe they underestimated it.
That mitigates. Pardon?
Maybe they underestimated it. It's sort of like the emergent style. Oh, I may have heard you wrong, but it's a little bit like the emergent style of gameplay that we had discussed Monday night.
Look, I think because it no longer is at the point that you sort of put whatever as the commanders. Like you think very highly, especially with some of the new stuff some of the new cards that came out, especially with I've forgotten what they called, the ones that based around discarding. Stuff like that. where your commanders can actually be integral to how your deck is formed, because it depends on whether you have discard outlets or not, depends on which commanders you pick, and so forth and so on. So I think synergy-wise, commanders make up such a big portion of the effectiveness of your deck and how you can draft. They don't just dictate what you can draft, they dictate how you can draft as well. If you have very control-y commanders, you have to get a very control-y deck. You have to draft towards a very control-y deck. Otherwise, you're either going to not use the commanders at all, and therefore there's 3 completely pointless cards that are always accessible to you. Not good. Or you have to build something that's just way out of comfort zone. Right now, it just doesn't feel like it's in a great place. I feel as though it could be better. Like, it's okay as it stands because it's a limited format, and you expect that inherent randomness. But I feel as though sort of shrinking the box, thinking not outside the box, but right up against it, I think is the best way to do it. Shrink that sort of area of play until you can manage around all the new cards that are coming out. So you can manage around the emergent meta, because Limited does, as much as people don't want to admit it, it has a meta game. And build around that and find out where your good parts are, where your bad parts are, and you're still in beta. Play with some things.
Well, see,
it just doesn't feel right now.
See, I'm going to be really curious, and if we can actually get one of you all on, believe me, I'm going to be like all over you for this. But when it comes to making additional gameplays to a video game or a game style, it can be incredibly complex, and yes, it can be a bit of a pain in the ass for the developers. I had a developer tell me that I've definitely turned into a developer because I refuse to cut my hair. And because they said, so why is your hair so long now? And I said, I just can't be bothered getting it cut. I just want to see how long it'll grow. And they went, yeah, you're definitely a developer. I went, what, are you telling me that developers can't be bothered and that's why they grow beards? And he said, yes. And I thought that was really funny. But it's an incredibly complicated process. But in the end, if you have the right platform built, if you have the right iterative development set up, and you have the proper interactions with the users in the end, and doing the right feedback and everything else that goes with it, you could shape a game and test things out without destroying your base game. And I think these guys have it. Now, I'm also going to throw out there, I see nothing wrong with staying in beta for a very long time. I see nothing wrong with that at all. Because until you get the game at the base right where you want it, don't take it live unless there's some real honest-to-goodness reason you have to.
It all comes down to profit at the end.
Sometimes, yes.
To...
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. That's the thing. It depends. And in the end, the developers of Infinity Wars, honestly, amazingly good people. I keep getting, every time I turn around, I keep getting more and more impressed by them. So, yeah, there you go. I gotta get them on other shows. You guys need to come onto the data mine and talk development with us. Really, seriously need to. Why don't you guys just like give up and just come join us? How about that? Come join MMOBuff. Oh man.
No, you're not pitching or anything at this point.
No.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time left, and we've been neglecting the constructed sort of side of this.
I was just about to say,
as we tend to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because, as I make it very, very clear, I'm not so much a constructed person, simply because it's not dynamic enough to interest me. I don't get off on hard math like constructed is to me, math in spreadsheet form. But I really like the constructed. To be honest, I have much less to say about constructed, not because of my lack of experience, but because I feel as though it's in a fairly good state. Aside from a couple of, I have a couple of things that I can see going wrong with it over time, but as it stands right now, I feel as though it's in a pretty good state considering they're still in beta, still in development, it's still emerging gameplay, all that sort of stuff. Would you like to weigh in?
What I find interesting to me when it comes to Constructed is the fact that Constructed has options. Draft should have options just like this, guys. Just saying. But I know one of the things you had made mention of when we really first started talking about Infinity Wars is that you're having problems finding people to play certain styles. I believe it was merged.
Yeah.
That you were
merged. I love playing merged because, yeah, of my Bleep deck, Bleep U decks. And if you can't infer from context there, then there is no hope for you. But I like playing merge because it's good fun. That's it. I play constructed because it's good fun. I think they've taken some of the very popular casual constructed formats and chucked them in as base options for the game, and I love it when games do that because you're not only catering for the really weird math nerds like me, but you're also catering for people like Pseudo who love playing all the really fun casual stuff. And the lack of a player base, the only reason that's a problem is because people are intimidated by the base game, so you generally don't get casuals playing it. So the people that I find playing merge are the people who are trying to get kicks like me. It's that time again. We will get through one episode eventually when my screensaver doesn't come on.
I don't believe it. I think you would jinx us if that
Yeah,
was the case. For me, I haven't been able to put too much into Constructed, but there's a reason for it, and that is because of the fact that I've been completely obsessed with trying to make certain I understand the game, and I'm learning, and I'm taking all of my experiences and trying to make certain that I get it, and I'm probably going to play Draft before I play Constructed. That's pretty much that. But it is, as you can see here, worth noting that there is normal play and ranked play. And ranked play is available at level 10, a gating system, which, again, I kind of agree with. But hey.
I agree with that gating system in a sense. Mostly because even people like me don't play ranked straight up without developing a card base.
Well, in this particular case, Constructed is all about the cards that you have. So it is very much so something that requires something that's lock, stock, and barrel until you have a good bit of experience under your belt, which means you have at least, I'd say, a chance in hell of building something amazing. Yeah, you have to have
snowflakes,
right? Oh, excellent. But yes, so those are things that we've been pretty much talking about, and that's Constructed. It is limited play. It is draft. It is rifts. Whatever you want to call it. Infinity Wars has it. And while we do have some issues with some of the things that are there, they've got it, and they're constantly updating. Something tells me this is not the final version of what you will expect to see from both. And I do believe that the baby drop bear is probably the best thing ever.
Yes, enraged baby drop bear.
The enraged baby drop bear is amazing.
What happens when you give a koala vodka?
No, as it says on the card, it's all about rubbing Vegemite behind the ears.
Yes.
I'm just like, wow, that is such a cultural reference. Hopefully people get it. And for those of you who don't, you've got Marsh here, and that is okay.
You guys have Marmite. It's basically the same thing, except worse.
It's gross.
Yeah.
You either love Marmite or you hate it. There is no in between with that stuff. And honestly...
It's because you guys use it wrong. People use...
Dan!
I'm gonna have a cultural argument just for a second.
Hold on. My husband makes an amazing Guinness and Marmite bread. Now, to be fair, Marmite is a byproduct of Guinness to begin with. So, there you go. But he makes a Guinness and Marmite bread that after it's been cooked and everything, and you slice it, you toast it, or you just get it right out of the oven after it's finished cooking, and you slather a bit of butter on there, it is nirvana for the mouth. It is amazing. That is the only way I will touch Marmite.
See, people. Alright, so for those of you who aren't Australian and don't know how to use Vegemite, you need A, butter, and B, only a tiny bit of Vegemite, because that sucker packs a punch.
Yes, it does.
I know American, because Americans don't really use butter. They use condiments. Very different.
No, I mix it up. I like my butters, I like my mayonnaise, I like my mustard, and I likes my ketchups. I also likes my Worcestershire sauce. I also loves my A1 sauces. I mix it up. I don't like brown sauce, though. Brown sauce is gross.
You use a lot of condiment.
Yeah.
Whereas, and so I see them, and it's like a layer this thick of Vegemite, and I sit there and I'm sitting there, I'm trying not to laugh until they take that first bite. Like, I really am, because I'm a horrible person. But I sit there, I wait for them to take their first bite, and then just basically dry reach for the next 20 minutes, because I would not. Like, it's like effectively taking a tablespoon full of Vegemite. It's just the worst thing ever. Like, this stuff could polish shoes, like it could, in that quantity. But it's delicious. It's delicious, but only in tiny, tiny bits. It's like chocolate. It's amazing, but it's really bad for you after that first bit.
Wow. But there you go, everybody. That is Marsh. It is myself. We've talked about Vegemite. We've talked about the baby drop bear, which means this episode's brought to you by...
false syllogisms.
Fossilogisms?
No, false syllogisms.
Oh, false syllogisms. There we go. And obviously the baby drop bear in that case. But I want to thank you all for watching us here on YouTube. Do me a favor, guys. If you've got questions, comments, and concerns, leave them below for us in the comments, because one of the things we want to make certain we do is we tackle the questions that you may have for the developers, although they are really good at getting back in touch with the community, trying to talk to them as well. And the community, holy cow. Man, when we get to episode number 5 and we start ripping into the community, which is my area of expertise, even next week is my area of expertise, which is all about UI and design, as well as UX implementation. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It's always interesting. I learn things.
It's going to be a fantastic thing, at least for me, because it's where I get to do a little bit of shining. Fingers crossed I'll be able to talk for next week.
Always a good starting point.
I already feel the swelling going, and I'm like, oh, sad face. But, you know, hey. Once the wisdom teeth are removed, hopefully everything will be all right. But other than that, do leave us a comment. And remember, like, share, subscribe, these things. Because in the end, we're talking for you. We're sharing our thoughts with you. Because we want to see TCGs successful. That's all it comes down to. Because it is one of our favorite styles of game. One of our favorite genres. And when we start talking about roguelikes and things like that, don't worry. But yes, so Dr. Marshmellows, have you figured it out yet?
No, I'm so... My spatial reasoning is terrible. It's like that, except...
Okay, is there a reason you don't like using all your fingers? It's like this. There you go. Yeah. See, now it's more like a pumpkin heart. And then if you do it just right, you can sort of make it look like a...
I'm not a teenage girl. I'm bad at this, okay?
You do not need to be a teenage girl to make a heart.
You really do.
Well, thank you for thinking I'm younger than I actually am. But I absolutely adore you, and I have missed you, and it is so nice to spend time with you again on Top Draw. And we'll be back next week, and specifically, we will be discussing the UI and UX of Infinity Wars. If you want the code, by the way, for that booster pack, folks, it's down below. It's in the doodly-doo. And on that note, Dr. Marshmellows, we didn't get a chance to play a game and record it, but honestly, I think that's okay for right now. What we'll do is we will at some point do a recording and put it up, and you guys can totally laugh at the fact that Marsh owns me. But unfortunately, I'm not feeling very well, so we're just going to have to end it here. Yeah. So, Tune in next week as we bring back to you the things about Infinity Wars. And that was a really horrible accent on my part. Sweet.
It really was. We will be finding Waldo, and Carmen Sandiego will come by for a cup of tea.
Carmen Sandiego? Where is... Wow. Oh, and now I've got Reading Rainbow caught in my head and Square One TV, all the classic stuff I used to watch growing up. Wow. Love Square One TV. Oh, man. And on that note, bye, everybody.
And on that note, ciao.